it's like day before. Gotta have some recording of how genius I am when I get every single pick correct, which is inevitably what'll happen. I do have some like hot takes, I think. We all know Cam Ward, number one overall. Not sure how I feel about it. I guess like the Titans are in a place where you get a quarterback and maybe you're able to compete. I'm a little bit. I think they're just in a bad spot altogether. But I I think a quarterback is like they need one. Cam Ward's not my favorite in this class, but I think he's probably up there. I don't think it's gonna be like I don't think it's a bad pick. It just the Titans are in a bad place altogether. So whoever they take is still gonna take time. I really like the addition of Lockett, but even then, it's gonna take more than that to make them a playoff team. Um, Number two, and I resisted it for a while, I suppose. I had Abdul Carter there for a while, just because I felt like it made sense to pair him with Miles Garrett on the other side. But at the end of the day, I wasn't looking at Travis Hunter as I guess, first wide receiver. I was looking at him as a like first corner, second wide receiver, and I think it makes sense for them to play him as first wide receiver, second corner. I'm a little bit. I think I question more than other people about how much value he can bring from that position. But if he can turn himself into that number one wide receiver type of player, I think it'll work out well for the Browns here. Obviously, you're not taking a quarterback. You don't think anybody else is valuable enough to take here. I understand it. I think it makes them a better team. Again, I think it'll take more pieces to make them a playoff team. And I think it'll eventually take a quarterback in the future. But getting a maybe probably the best player in the class here at it you can't go wrong with it. It really sets you up for putting yourself in that best position, even if that's a little bit of the ways off. So yeah, Travis. Maybe I should like pick the player first and then explain. I don't know. We're going to Bill Carter. I mean, you've seen the rumors, seen all the rumors, so many rumors. The bottom line is the Giants have to compete this year, and Abdul Carter like easily gives them the best chance to do so. Like I might pick Shador Sanders here. I think he's a really good player. I think he's a franchise quarterback. I think he'll be worth that pick. But will he contribute next year? No. It's going to be Russ. It's going to be Jameis behind him, and Shador would probably be that number three guy. So grabbing again, maybe the best player in the class. I would probably have Abdul over Travis Hunter, but it's not. I don't think it's definite by any means. I think he's in line to be an elite edge rusher, which is kind of just like invaluable to have to be able to extend in the future, and it really sets you up for winning now. Can you do that with Russ, Malik, really being your only tools on offense? I'm a little bit bullish about that. The rest of the defense is it's okay. I don't know if it's good enough to carry him. Um, but Abdul Carter is a fantastic piece to add. Kind of waves the white flag on Kayvon Thibodeau there a little bit, but with what you saw last year, I think it kind of had to be done. And he moved to number four. I know, like, there's so much Will Campbell discussion here, but I can't get behind it. I understand that they might like him over Membu. Membu, I would definitely have as a higher graded, or I do have as a higher graded prospect. But I can see where their type of offense they would prefer Will Campbell. But I'm gonna throw the loop in here, and I've basically done this in every single mock draft because I legitimately I believe in the pick so much, and I'm gonna take Mason Graham here. I don't think you have to take offense for the Patriots. Grab the best player available on my board, a player that I'm sure the Patriots would absolutely love to have. That's Mason Graham, man. absolute wrecking ball in the defensive line. I think he's honestly like the best player remaining. Maybe Ashton Genty, Armand Membu up there. But I mean, you just get enough force there, and I think him as a player will be definitely more valuable to me than Will Campbell in the coming years. I think it'll be a mistake if they take Will Campbell tonight over Mason Graham and Membu, but if it were me, I'm sitting up there. I'm taking Mason Graham, number 4 overall. Number 5, and we've seen this kind of come to pass. We're going Genty. It really feels like that Jaguars offense needs like stab of something, like stabbing them in their veins. That adrenaline, pump it right in there. Because it's just like flat. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has not, I guess, been the promise quarterback that they drafted. Like the expectations were that he'd be a top 5 at least, top 10 at least, top 5 quarterback. And maybe you can argue he's like top 10 at this point. I think top 5 is a definitive no. Um, but Genty kind of adds another layer to that offense that probably has a pretty solid offensive line right now. Just as another like threat. And in terms of you're looking at this draft, you're looking to get an offensive threat. I wouldn't be drafting Tyler Warren. I just don't think he fits that role. They don't really need offensive line. I don't think they're really looking to go defense. But if they were, I could see a Jalen Walker pick. I could definitely see him. He reminds me a little bit of Josh Hines Allen. Um, is that what his name is now? Sounds like Josh Hines Ward, Josh Hines Allen, something. I should probably know. So I think your other option is like I feel like they'd really like Tet. I just feel like it's a little too early for me to want to go after somebody like Tet. I don't see him as a definitive wide receiver 1 talent per se. Really good player, just not at number 5. Not when Ashton Jitty's there. Probably the best running back we've seen since Saquon. Um, just such a force. Breaks tackles at an unbelievable level. Number 6, and I've seen Calvin Banks here. Honestly, I can't imagine. Like I get the rumors, and I got the rumors with Titans pick last year. What was the guy from the tackle from Bama that they picked, who was an absolute athletic force that you kind of like, probably better than all the tackles in this year's draft, just in terms of the athleticism plus the run blocking that he came into the league with. And I understood that pick, but I don't think that Calvin Banks has enough that you can justifiably pick him over Bill Campbell and Armand Membu. Um, Not to say he's a bad player. I think he could still very easily be a top 10 pick. But to take him over either of them feels a little crazy to me. And maybe you say that's exactly a Raiders thing to do, and I think that's a fair say. But you got a new GM in here. I think they have to make a change at some point to like be good at drafting, and I think the right choice if you're wanting to do that is Armand Membu. He's pretty like I think not hands in a way my tackle one, but probably like hands my away my tackle one, something like that. I think let's just say more complete player than Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks are. I think Kelvin Banks is really good, a little bit less of an athlete, a little bit less of a run blocker, which I'll always value a little bit more than that pass blocking archetype. I think if you can run block, that's all. That's the instincts. You can be taught to pass block. I'm sure there are some exceptions there, but I think it's a lot harder to learn how to run block at the NFL level. And I think Membu is right now the best run blocker, hands down, in this draft. Probably Will Campbell second there, just based on the size and the physicality. Um, but yeah, take the tackle one, get a player for the future, get the best player on the board for me, there's not many ways you can go wrong there. Moving on to number 7, I can see a Will Campbell pick here. I don't see the team fit, I guess. I don't think that's what Aaron Glenn would be looking for in terms of a offensive lineman. Um, yeah, I don't think they're taking a quarterback. They could. I don't think they would. Jalen Walker feels like if they were to draft an edge, it might be him. Just an absolute, toolsy piece there on defense. I think a lot of teams will stay away from that because he is that toolsy piece, though. I could definitely see him falling a little bit on draft night just because you're like, does he play edge? Does he play linebacker? You want him to play both. I see him as more of a pure edge. I don't think he has to play off ball like much. Um, get him on that edge there and absolutely have him hammer away at the offensive lineman. A little bit of a concern in terms of the size there, but I don't think it's too much of one. At the level, like good arm length, the athlete that he is. But in the end, I think they're going to be looking to get better on offense. I think you kind of have to continue to look to do that if you're the Jets here and you don't have a definitive defensive player that you really want. You know what? Actually, I'm changing my mind here. I think they need edge, and I think Jalen Walker is the perfect fit for this defense. I think Aaron Glenn would love him. I really do. I think he's an absolute, just a absolute piece. You saw the Lions draft Brian Branch a couple years ago. I think it pretty like obviously it's a different position, but in terms of what they add to the defense, it's a pretty similar thing. It's an absolute physical talent that knows how to play football. That maybe you don't know which role you're going to put him in, but as long as you pick a role, as long as you get him in the right positions, it might take a little bit of effort to do that. But as long as you do that, he's going to be elite. And I think that's exactly what the Jets need. I know it's another defensive pick, uh, but in the end, you just got to take the player that's going to put you in the best position to win, and I think that would be Jalen Walker. Moving on to number 8. I feel like this is a pick that I've had for our past 2 months, and people have finally started to catch on that this is like, oh, that might happen. I am going to go with Michael Williams here. I think he probably my edge one in this class. Dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury last year, still pretty good. Not a refined pass rusher yet, but I think the athleticism, I think the instincts are there. I think they'll show at the NFL level. Really good run defender already. I can already picture him in a Carolina Panthers uniform. Georgia Bulldogs edges go 7-8 back to back. But I just think the pure physical force that he has there makes perfect sense to a team that has, Derek Brown, throw him right up next to him and just dominate that defensive line. That line matchup, I guess is what I meant to say. You get to number 9, and this is where I just don't quite understand. I think if you are going to take an edge rusher, which seems like the general consensus right here, it would probably be. That's where I struggle. I don't think there's one that they would consider taking here. Lamar Stewart's a good player. I guess I just don't see them taking him here at number 9. I think it's a little bit of a reach. I think there's better players on the board. And one better player for me is Shedeur Sanders. I'm just a massive fan. Saints need a quarterback, and I know the buzz is that they're not going to take one, but I'm not sure I'm buying it. You got a new head coach, offensively minded. I feel like he wouldn't mind having a consistent quarterback they can trust for the future. And maybe you're trying to tank for a quarterback next year, but you can never bet on that. And I just don't think there's a better player to fit your team here. I think you get Shedeur Sanders, reminds me a little bit of old Drew Brees. Like maybe not young Drew Brees, a little bit of a gunslinger, but old Drew Brees can kind of just dish it out, a little bit of a mover in the pocket. I just I feel like it's the right pick. And I'm not going to be able to get myself away from that. I think it would work out incredibly well. I think it's the right spot for him, honestly. You've got some solid wide receivers there. You got an offense that at least a little bit established versus like the what the Brown like the Titans are taking Cam Ward. Like I wouldn't say they have an established offense right now. It's pretty young. It struggled a lot last year, and maybe a quarterback will fix that. But I think with the Saints, you got Kamara, you've got wide receiver talent there. I think you're comfortable taking quarterback. I don't know why you wouldn't take Shedeur Sanders, based on my evaluations of him. Moving on to 10, and I guess I'm taking a page out of Daniel Jeremiah's book here. I'm copying the cheat sheet, but I think it is the best option for them at this slot, given who is available. I'm gonna go Tyler Warren. Cole Kmet's all right, good player. He's definitely part of the future there. Be able to line up Tyler Warren, next to him, be able to line up big there. Ben Johnson, we all know. Well, if you're a Lions fan, he fucking loves that shit. He loves running two tight ends. See Brock Wright out there all the time. And when you have two guys that are, I think Sam Laporta is probably better than Tyler Warren to me. But when you got two guys that are really good, Tyler Warren and Cole Kmet, it's just two absolute weapons out there for the Bears. Tyler Warren really good. I probably like Colson Loveland better, but I think for that Bears offense, I think Warren makes a little bit more sense to me. Um, I think he's just adding another threat. They've added a lot of offensive line this offseason. I don't think they really need some offensive line help. I don't think they necessarily would like refuse it by any means. But I think it's the right decision to make. Um Next, I'm for the 49ers. I think you certainly could go Will Campbell here. I think you could. I think he's a really good player. I think they're thinking they're set on offensive tackle. I don't think they're interested. I think if they were interested, they would be interested more in Kelvin Banks to play on the inside. But I don't understand what's going on with the Walter Nolan concerns character-wise. But I think he's an absolutely spectacular player that has like moon side upside to me. He already a fantastic or run defender. Has shown the instincts to become a really great pass rusher, a really productive pass rusher. I think he's the perfect fit. And you see Gray's able being the pick there for Jeremiah's, and I'm just not sure I can see him going that early. It'd be a little bit of a reach. Not that doesn't happen on draft night. In terms of talent, I think Walter Nolan is a perfect fit here at 11. I get I don't understand the character concerns. I haven't been able to see them. Obviously, they could definitely drop him further in the draft. But in terms of a pure player, I'm gonna take Walter Nolan here. And this is another pick that I've had for literally forever. Wide receiver one for me, I think by a fair margin. That's Matthew Bolton. Just an absolute playmaker. When the lights are on, he shows up. That's the bottom line. More quick than fast. Ran a 4.4. I mean, that's not going to really be his role. More of he's going to beat the NFL cornerbacks with his suddenness. He can run down the field if you have to. And I mean, he's going to be useful in that role. I've seen a lot of Ted McMillan. I just think it's a little bit redundant in terms of the role there with CeeDee Lamb. I think I definitely prefer Matthew Golden on the other side there. I guess like maybe same side. He plays out of the slot a lot. But I think Matthew Golden is the pick. I think he's the right pick, and I think he will be the better wide receiver for the future. This potentially makes the easiest pick in existence here for the Miami Dolphins. That's literally just Will Campbell. Like you get your tackle to replace Eric Armstead? No, that's wrong. Hold on, let me make sure I get it right. Is it right? I think Eric Armstead is the tackle retires. Usually I'd get it. Teron Armstead. I get him confused. Eric Armstead is the tackle. Or the defensive tackle. But you immediately get a replacement for left tackle, and I know I really like all these picks, and it's like they're the best value to me. At the same time, I think like I'm not even the biggest fan of Will Campbell. I think this might be the most valuable pick in the draft so far to me. Like just getting an absolute mauler. I think he fits perfectly for the Dolphins. I could see them trading up for him at in the top 10 to get him. And I think he just fits what they're looking for so well in terms of an offensive lineman. Massive, physical, good run blocker, good pass blocker, solid fundamentals. I think he would be their dream player in this draft. So their dream is fulfilled. I suppose here at 13. Number 14. I'm just going with the other tight end available. Wilson Lovin is fantastic. I think he's been consistently underrated a bit in this draft cycle. Most probably because of I guess I don't want to call it a lackluster senior season. In terms of the stats, it was lackluster, but being someone that's watched a lot of Michigan football, he himself was pretty much all of the offensive production when he was on the field. It was just that they couldn't ever get it to him. That was kept him from going from as many yards as Tyler Warren, basically doubling up his numbers. Um, he's absolutely fantastic. Just finds open space, gets open, catches the ball, and I don't think there's much more you can ask out of a guy. I think you need tools. I expect Anthony Richardson to be the starter. Um, Even if it's Daniel Jones, good luck, Colts, but I still think you need a consistent target for both of them. And I think Colston Loveland is exactly that. Like if you're the Colts, you're hoping that one of the tight ends falls to you, and if not, maybe take Shamar Stewart. Maybe Mike Green if you're willing to waive on the character concerns there. I see it as a little bit more of a valid thing. There's a reason he went to Marshall, yeah. But I think, yeah, you're sitting there wanting a tight end. Number 15. That's where it becomes a little bit challenging. Good edge rushers off the board. I just think, to me, Mike Green. You've seen that the Falcons are willing to like to take it to. But you've seen the reports the Vikings are willing to pick a player despite their character concerns. I do think Mike Green is the best player available. He fits that Atlanta Falcons defense. I guess pristinely is the right word. I think he just slots in there and immediately becomes a really productive edge rusher. I'm not sure as much like top end potential as these guys you're seeing go 7 and 8, and that's why they're going 7 and 8, right? But I think he's going to be a really good player. I think the character concerns are a concern. Maybe that's why he's not going a few picks earlier. But in terms of a talent, I think he's absolutely, viably going 15th overall, and I think it's a really good fit for the Falcons. Character concerns are real again, but I think he's a good enough player that they'd consider taking him at 15 overall. And in my last mock, I had Mike Green at 32 overall. That's what makes me up a little bit here. Um, I think it's also very possible. Like the talent gap between 15 and 32 is not massive. With the character concerns there, I think it's like could definitely be enough to drop him down to that late first round, early second level. At 16, a lot of options here. And I feel like this is we've heard a lot of hype on Calvin Banks. Feel like this is probably like his floor realistically. At the same time, I want to go Shamar Stewart. It's a little bit of a battle like mentally here. I imagine Shamar Stewart as a Arizona Cardinal. I think he fits exactly what they do there on the offensive line. Big defensive ends, run on the edge, run on the inside a bit. Just absolutely physical, great run stopper. I think he's the dream player for them as well. Like again, this draft really likes to match up dream player, dream player, dream player, one after another, man. And I think for the Cardinals, he is that. Moving on to number 17. This is again is something I've kind of just settled into doing. Praise Abel to the Cincinnati Bengals. I just think, he addresses that interior offensive line thing that they've been dealing with for a long time. Hopefully for the final time, I guess. Really good player. A little bit more to tune up than the offensive lineman that went, prior. Will Campbell, Herman Membu. But I think if you're looking for a pure offensive guard, I think Zabel's like clearly the best option here. I think he, in terms of the athleticism, fits a lot in terms of what the Bengals look to do offensively. It makes a lot of sense. And another thing, if Ted McMillan's on the board, I can't imagine the Seahawks passing him up. Kind of just serves as a combination Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf replacement. You get a little bit of each player in there, and I think you get Ted. Really good at finding his way open, big target, solid contested catch. Obviously, you don't have the burning speed of Metcalf or the absolute like route running, killer route running of Lockett. But you get a player that's really, really good, does a lot of work to replace both of them, and adds another target aside from Jackson Smith and Jigba for Sam Darnold to pass to year one. Also, Sam Darnold on the Seahawks, really weird move to me. Don't quite understand it, but they did it. Moving on to number 19. And we are going to go with, where's the Bama kid? Jahad Campbell. And this has been a pick forever. I think he's Bucks value linebacker a lot more than the rest of the NFL does, generally. And I think if you're looking for a linebacker in this class, Jahad Campbell's clearly the best one. Big, physical, can do everything. Pass rush, play coverage, stop the run. Not another like complete linebacker here. He's I guess a slam dunk pick that here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to me. The Broncos. Something I kind of moved into recently. We're going with a running back, and we're going with Travion Henderson. He's been consistently my RB2. I understand why like a Marion Hampton would potentially go over him. At the same time, I value what Henderson brings to the table more. A little bit bullish on him going early, just because of the size there. Like really fast, but not like the fastest player you've ever seen. Kind of just like more like looks fast. Definitely a fast player. Just the way that he can fit through holes. His top speed really, really fast. He's going to be a damn good NFL running back, and I think he's the kind of player that the Broncos would look for. That's why I'm going there at number 20. Like, if the Broncos don't pick him, could go in the late first round, could slip out of the first round altogether. But I'm just a massive fan there. Moving on to 21. I am kind of between one player, honestly. I think there's one player that kind of convinces me here. That one I haven't seen a lot, and that's Malachi Starks. I mean, probably not my safety one, but I think in terms of what the Steelers would want, is a more, complete player, more of a pass defender who can come up and absolutely hammer you. That's Malachi Starks. Really fluid player. I just think it's exactly what the Steelers would be looking for in terms of safety. I think if he gets there to 21, no guarantee that he does by any means. If he gets there to 21, I think they would, snap at the chance to take him. I think he would, in terms of getting the best player on the board here, I think there's a really good argument that he is it. I'm staring here, looking at Kelvin Banks. It's hurting a little bit, but I can't go with him here either. I am going to go with... I want to go Kenneth Grant here. Just I don't know if that'd be the move that Harbaugh goes with. I think they got Najee Harris, solid player. Harbaugh loves his running backs, and I think Marion Hampton's still here. Really good player. Absolutely, like, top-end speeds are fantastic. Absolutely loves to pummel defenders. Really fun player. My running back 3. I think he's really good. Not too far from Travion to me. I think he's pretty much exactly what the Chargers would look for. I think that's one matchup that you just like. You look at one player, you look at one team, and you see a perfect combination. That's it to me. Again, I don't know if he gets to 22, but if he does, I kind of do see the Chargers pouncing on him there. Um, Moving on to 23. Looking with what I did in my previous mock, I went with Azaraku, and I honestly I felt kind of bad about it. I didn't feel 100% right doing it. And I think I know, I'm starting to feel it now. Maybe I guess my question is there a chance they go offensive line here? How much do they trust in Rasheed Walker to lock down that left tackle position? I really do think I'm gonna go with Calvin Banks here as the Packers left tackle of the future. I think I want to stop his fall before I start feeling bad about it. You know, you see him going at like number 6 overall on Jeremiah's newest mock. I'm not sure I buy that, but I think he certainly goes higher than here at 23. He's just tough when there's so many good players here. I think you could definitely see somebody move up maybe into this Cowboys position. Take Will Campbell, which the Dolphins would probably take Kelvin Banks. Which I don't know how many teams are actually looking for offensive tackle in this draft, as compared to the other available positions that are like a lot of good talent here. That's why he slips here. I think he's pretty clearly my offensive tackle 3 here, but genuinely a step below the top 2 and a step above the probably the 3rd tier and like Josh Simmons. I'd say like I have Connerly a little bit closer. I could see him like personally. I wouldn't be shocked to see him going over Calvin Banks. Though judging by the newest like mocks, Jeremiah knows what he's talking about. Like he'll probably go higher. But moving on to 24, I think the move is going to be Kenneth Grant here. I'm not entirely convinced, but I think that's what feels the most right to me. I guess maybe, perhaps, maybe. You know, I changed my mind. Just like I did earlier today when I picked Tyler Booker. I'm not the biggest Tyler Booker head in terms of. I think there's a lot of teams that would not have him on their board at all. And I think there's a lot of teams that would have him as their top interior offensive lineman. I think that'll drive him up the draft a little bit, where I might not have him in my top like 40 players, but teams are going to have him in their top 20. And I see that maybe the Minnesota Vikings are one of these teams. Maybe they see him as a steal here. And I pretty much know that the Texans are one of those teams. They might be kind of disappointed to see him going off the board. You know, it just leaves another offensive guard wide open to take in Donovan Jackson. But what if their plan all along was to take Emeka Egbuka, which I think makes a little bit too much sense to pass up here. Um, Egbuka and Stroud were a fantastic combo in his fresh. It was a sophomore season, right? That sounds about right. Sophomore season, and I feel like you lose Tank Dell for the whole year, basically. Who knows if he really ever returns to the same form that he did pre that it's a pretty devastating knee injury. It's unclear whether he can return to the same form. Aguga kind of fills that similar role that Tank Dell would, and I think he could potentially even do it a little bit better. You know, just an extremely smooth route runner, great hands. Seems like a guy that's kind of primed to immediately put up 1,000-yard seasons. And I think it just makes too much sense for a Texans team that's really looking to compete to take him and just fit him right in that Tank Dell role. Um, Moving on to 26 with the Rams. I'm gonna take probably my BPA here, and that's Nick Eamon. I think probably my safety one. You know, Clark's not that far away, but just in terms of the pure physicality and athleticism of Eamon is it makes you drool a little bit. I guess I want to say like he just absolutely hammer people from deep. A little bit concerned about the refinement there, about how he transitions in coverage from college to the NFL level. Can he cover like wide receivers? I don't know. Maybe more of a. I think he probably can. but I think it might take a little bit of time. For Starks, I think the fluidity will kind of lead him to immediately being able to doing that. I think it might take a little bit more time for Minori, but I think the upside that Minori has, and I believe that he will get there, is immense. And I think he's absolutely worth a first round pick. I think he could get picked a lot earlier than this. I think for 26 for the Rams, it's an absolute steal. And on to 27, again, got my cheat sheet out. Got the Daniel Jeremiah mock draft. Not actually pulled up, but pulled up mentally. Going Kenneth Grant. And he just fits exactly what they like to do defensively. I'm higher than Kenneth Grant than most people. I think having a defensive tackle that's, 335 and play every single down, good pass rusher, great run stuffer with, tremendous upside. Maybe he probably struggles a little bit with the pass rush initially, but with his athleticism at that size, his pass rush upside, and again, it's another player that I think he has the ability to get there, especially with the Ravens, is definitely worth a slot. I think this could be, like, you look back a couple of years, this could be the best pick of the first round here in Kenneth Grant. Because I think, right now, the pass rush is not there, but in a couple of years, you see it start to, blossom a bit, and you could see a defensive lineman that's, better than pretty much everybody else on this list here. And a team that maybe wanted Kenneth Grant, a little bit in need of defensive line, is the Detroit Lions. My squad. And you got Will Johnson. You could bring down the hometown boy. Have a couple edge rushers. Harmon, I heard some injury stuff. Probably pushes him out of the first round. He was already like a fringy first rounder to me. I know I haven't mentioned Jackson Dart, frankly, just because I don't think he's a first round pick. I know the Lions like Harrison. Just I can't imagine them going with him round one. I feel like it's really between Donovan Jackson and like an edge rusher. And Donovan Jackson fits a lot of teams. I'm just not convinced that he fits the Lions perfectly. Um, so I'm gonna be going with James Pierce here. You've heard the character concerns. Another one that I buy a little bit of it, but I think the player and what you've seen on the field, and the fact that he went to Tennessee and absolutely battled for a starting position there, for a role there, and put in the work to get it done. Like I've met a few college athletes. I've met a few that are not motivated, and that could be James Pierce. But I'm just not quite buying it that a player of his caliber hasn't put in the necessary work. And Lions value character very highly. They value that football mentality very highly. And I think it's a little bit of a smokescreen from what I'm seeing with the character stuff. The Lions meeting him with him will be able to see through it. And I think he, in terms of an edge rusher, best available, probably fits the mold that the Lions are looking for. Moving on to 29, and this is just like right player, right team for me. You could take Jade Barron. I don't see as a good fit for the Commanders here. Obviously, like they need corner. Jade Barron's really good. I just I don't think he's the kind of player that they're looking for there in Washington. I think Donovan Jackson is going to be the pick. I think he's just the epitome of what they're looking for there at the offensive line. A good, consistent starter that can immediately walk in, play really well at guard, big, physical, just a really solid player to protect for Jaden Daniels for the next 5 years. I don't think there's like much argument against the pick. I don't really see as a Commanders fan how you could be mad. Maybe you're saying, why didn't you take Jay Barron? I just think you have to take the player that's going to make your team the best for the next 5 years, especially if you're a team in an established position like the Commanders are. I think Donovan Jackson is just that. Moving on to 30 with the Buffalo Bills, and I'm gonna go with Harrison. I think again, perfect team fit here for me. Um, Bills love their speedy corners. We've seen that through the past few years. Hey, Elam was a weird pick to me. Bills have had those late first rounder, a little bit odd corner picks. I think Harrison you're probably reaching at him a little bit, but if you're getting the prototype of what you're looking for at corner in a physical monster that just needs to be a little bit more sticky physically, an athletic corner that needs to be a little bit more sticky physically as a like coverage corner. I think that's what the Bills are looking for. They think they can make him a Pro Bowl level talent, and I think if you think you can do that, you take him there at 30. I mean, look at the pure speed, runs like a 4.3. I don't think again, not much argument against that pick. I could see Ezeraku here for the Chiefs. I think he would be a good add to that defense. But they really need offensive tackle, and I'm very high on Josh Connerly Jr. He's a like damn good player. Again, taking out the cheat sheet a little bit. Happy in Daniel Jeremiah's work. Just I think he's a starting offensive tackle. Maybe not day one, but maybe like week 6. I think he can step into that role. Saw the evolution of his game in his senior season, and I think that's exactly what you're looking for in a drafted player. I think you're looking for them to build up their skills. I think you're looking for athleticism, which he definitely has. I think you're looking for him to utilize that athleticism in game. Again, most players check off that box. I think you're looking for if you're getting picked in the first round, you're checking off that box. I think you're looking for um, a growth in your game. You're looking for the player to grow from season to season, to be able to take in advice and figure out how to become better, and that epitomizes what Josh Connerly Jr. has done, and just a player that I really think will, I guess, thrive. As time goes on at the NFL level, I see him as like a future top end starter at that offensive tackle position. For the Chiefs, that's an absolute steal here at 31. And finally, moving on to 32. A little bit of an odd spot. Could take Ezeraku. I'm not sure I see the fit there. I'm not sure I see the team fit for the Eagles and Ezeraku. Really good player. I just don't know how much. I don't know if the Eagles would have him on their board, personally. This has been a pick that I've honestly had a lot of trouble problems with. Like, I think a lot of players that the Eagles would be interested in probably went a little bit earlier. I think maybe you look down the board a little bit. They like a lot of players. Darius Alexander. Um, I think the prime one that I'm like kind of match up there, but I just can't see them. Even Milan, yeah, too. I can't see them taking both of those guys like round one by any means, really. I just don't see them as that kind of talent. And you see Jade Barron on the board here. I know that you have a lot of depth in that secondary. That being said, could still absolutely use a corner. Jade Barron is fills that role perfectly for you. The last pick of the first round, that's who we'll take. There we go. Maybe my final mock draft. We'll see. Could change up a couple of things. It's always good to work on that iterative process. It's like writing a story. You write it the first time, you're like, wow, that was shit. You keep writing it, and you're like, but this continues to be shit. You look at other people's mock drafts, and you're like, wow, mine looks just as shit as theirs. But they have a couple cool things that they did that seem like they might happen. You integrate that a bit, and by the end you create your absolute beauty, your magnum opus. And that's kind of the beauty to me. Like, yeah, I can look at this and be like, it's a mesh of everything you've done over draft season, kind of thing. All the little work that you've done. I don't think I'll ever be like a 7 round guy. Um, I do like looking for like hidden talents, but trying to match up every round, every player is a lot, and I think a lot of times kind of fruitless. Like for the first round, it makes sense because you know which players are defensively the best, but in later rounds, it's more of just team fit. So trying to like it's hard to work out by team fit that way. I think it's like each team has a very different perspective on how they want to draft. Case in point, the Lions. I think you look at last year's draft, you see a lot of like out there picks, I guess, that I think have worked out so far. It's just they draft very differently. But yeah, you see the work of art that you've created here. You kind of have to admire it, and then The draft comes, and it's torn apart by shreds. Two shreds, by shreds. It was already shreds. You knew it was going to be wrong, but you had fun. Um, but yeah, that's the end of the process, I suppose. I think this one is pretty, at least close to what'll be my final. Like it epitomizes kind of what I believe in. Um, and hopefully it happens exactly this way on draft night. It might. It's like theoretically possible.